I'm doing great. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Let me give you a little idea of what we're going to do.
Okie
First of all, I'm only going to call you by your first name. I'm not going to use your
dokie.
last name
Okay.
because you're underage. You
Yeah, that makes
understand?
sense. No worries.
Yeah. I just want to protect your people's access to you. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
oh, yeah, well, it's important. Um, but other than that, we're just going to have a conversation, and I'm just gonna say a little bit of introduction,
Okay.
how I met you, and then I'm gonna ask you, who are you? And
What a question.
well, you can say whatever you want. And I have no agenda other than to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, of
And and at some point, I mean, we're obviously going to talk about your generation, and I'd
course.
love, I don't expect you to be the representative of your generation.
Okay, good. That would be a lot of pressure.
But I do
But
want you to speak about how you see your generation, from your perspective.
okay.
And let me say something before we go on.
Hmm.
I am I'm interested in your age group
Hmm.
because I feel like my age group, um, the baby boomers, do not appreciate you.
Okay. I will wait to share my opinions till you ask me, but okay. I see what you're saying there.
What I see is that um, I just hear criticism. Oh, they're
Hmm.
always scrolling, or they don't know how to work hard, or and and uh, and I don't buy that. But what I tell my age, people in my age, when they start complaining, I said, well, they are the products of the world that you created, so you're responsible.
That's it right there.
I am also in the midst of writing a novel
Ooh.
about an 18-year-old boy
Hmm.
who, when he was 3, his parents were lost in a plane crash. And he is the sixth of 6 children. He's the youngest of six children and the youngest by 6 years. So they go to live with their grandparents, one set of grandparents, and he's really ends up being raised like an only child.
Mm.
And so when he gets to 18, he decides he's going to go kind of figure out what's going on. And because he's not even sure what questions to ask, but he knows the questions that he has have not been answered.
Interesting. I'll be on the lookout for that. That sounds interesting.
The title of the book is, at least the working title,
Working title.
is Answers to Questions Never Asked.
Okay, I will definitely be on the lookout for that. That sounds interesting. I love reading, so I'll be
So,
looking out
okay, so
for it.
that's some of my background.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a retired minister, and I spent a lot of my um, the years I was actually doing ministry working with university students.
Oh, that it's definitely an interesting age group I imagine to work with, especially in regards to religion, for sure.
Yeah, it is. So that's some of my background, just so that you know. And you're free to ask me questions.
Okay.
We're equal in this, and I believe that we relate best when we're mutual in our interest in willingness to talk. So
Yeah,
thank you for
I
being here.
understand that.
Okay, so here we go. We're gonna get started.
Okay, here we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Ed Breniger, and welcome to the Eddie Network podcast. My guest today is Maya. Maya is a young woman I met just the other day, and she was giving tours. She's going to describe the tours that she does. And I watched her handle a group of women and kind of middle-aged women who were on her tour, and she was just fabulous. I really thought you were great. You just handled it so well. So, Maya, welcome to the Eddie Network podcast, and kind of give us an idea of who you are and things that it would you think would be important for us to know about you.
Okay, well, like you said, my name is Maya. I'm currently 17. I'm a senior in high school, so I'm going to be graduating in May, so that's exciting. And yeah, I'm a local business owner here in Wilkes County of Blue Ridge Food Tours, which is how I met you the other day in the midst of a food tour.
Twice. We saw each other twice.
Oh yeah, I kept crossing paths.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Um, so how did this food tour idea get started? Where did that come from?
Well, it's something that my family had done before. And I've been lucky enough, I've gotten the opportunity to travel a fair amount. My parents have always like sort of trained me with the ideology of experiences over things. So they really taught us to like try and appreciate that because things are temporary, but the memories that you get with experiences, they last for a long time. So, in the chances that I got to travel, we have done like food tours as a family. And I remember the first time we did one, we thought we were talking like on our way back from said vacation about like how cool and interesting it is because, first of all, a food tour isn't just food, you're getting like amazing food. But it's also the history. And I think food itself is inherently like historical and it teaches you about a place. But then you're getting to learn the history of the area and all that other things, and it's because it's like walking tours. It's I think that's like one of the best ways that you can like wholly experience an area if it's like walkable. I think that's like such an amazing way to experience that. So it's something that my family had thought was cool forever. And I remember like coming back on another particular trip and it's like talking with my parents and like do we think we could actually do that? Because it's like our home. I love my home. I think it's such a cool place. We have such cool restaurants, such interesting history that even though my dad has lived here his whole life, I have lived here my whole life. It's like when we like do a little bit of research, it's like we're finding out this stuff we didn't know. So that was kind of how it started. It started off as just like an idea, like, could we actually do something like this in our local area? And eventually we got to the point where the answer was yes, and we just took that initiative and I got started.
Well, it obviously means that you feel comfortable talking to people.
I won't say I'm a naturally, I would never describe myself as an extrovert. What I would describe myself as is What I would describe myself is that I'm an introvert who is able to connect with people, I think a fair amount.
Uh-huh.
That's something I'd say it's what something I've like adapted from my mother because we're both introverts. But that being an introvert doesn't mean that it's like you don't like to talk to people, you don't like to socialize at all. It just means that's not necessarily where you get your energy from. But the thing is, I'm getting the chance to talk about like a topic I enjoy. It's like even though it's repetitive to a certain extent, it's stuff that really interests me and entertains me. So I'm not the most naturally comfortable with talking to people, but I've gotten to that point and it's taken some work and I'm not always the best per se, but I feel like I've definitely gotten better in my ability to talk to people.
Well, I was very impressed with what I saw on Saturday.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, watching you interact with these women was, I was just, wow, I want to talk to her. I mean, I'm very extroverted, so so that's why I asked you because I saw something in you that said to me, this is a remarkable young woman that she's able to do something like this, and the fact that this is your family's business, but is it you that does most of this?
I I'm the one who does all the tours. So right now we have one in downtown North Wilkesboro and one in downtown Boone. I've gotten a lot of help from my parents. They're like the best mentors and helpers. They helped me like when we were getting the website started. So I would describe it as my business, but also as like a family endeavor. I'm not just doing this my help by myself without any support. They're like the best
Yeah.
support system I could ask for.
And how many people at your high school have their own business? How many students have?
Um, I can't say there's any that I'm aware of, but who knows? Maybe there's another one out there.
See, that's what I think is unique is that you have taken the initiative, you and your parents have taken the initiative to start a business that, in all, at least it looks to me is could be very successful because people are interested in North Wilkesboro and Wilkesboro are tourist towns. I mean, it's a place that people come to visit and for a variety of reasons. I used to live there. I used to live in North Wilkesboro, and
Oh,
so I know the town and so that's what caught my attention. So,
yeah, it's a super interesting place for sure. And even when it's locals taking it too, because we've had locals take it. And like I said, it's like you can learn new things that you never learned before, even if you're from the area, which is something that I really appreciate, like getting to see people's reactions to that. And then that's the thing when you get locals coming through too, you also get more stories. Like they add a little tidbit, and I'm like, oh, I gotta write that down, add that to my notes.
so you're learning about Wilkes County well, not Boone. What's Boone? What's Boone's county?
Watauga?
Watauga County. You're learning about those places as you're guiding tours of the place. That's pretty cool too. So, where are people coming from that are doing your tours?
People can really be coming from anywhere. I've had people, like I said, there's been locals. There's there are other groups who are just people who are really into food tours is like a certain group. Is what I found is that there's people who have just come to North Wilkesboro because there is a food tour. The group of ladies that I met you with that were from Florida, they were staying up on the mountain. They weren't staying down in Wilkesboro. They
Huh?
came down here because there was a food tour. And I've had people who were passing through to the Outer Banks. This isn't directly on the way from where they were up north to the Outer Banks, but it was something that interested them that brought them to this town. And who knows, because you're able to show a variety of history and restaurants, could get them to come back.
I had an experience. This is probably 15 years ago, though. I did a workshop, a weekend workshop in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I said, "Well, I'm gonna spend some time out here. I'm gonna go up to Santa Fe, which is just a couple hours north of Albuquerque, and I'm just gonna go. It's a historic place, and I'm gonna go see what's up." And for some reason, I said, "I wonder if they have a cooking school up there." And they did.
Mm.
So I went and I signed up for a um, a party workshop, and I thought they were going to teach us something, but it was just a demonstration. They had the three chefs who or two chefs that work at the school, and they made all these party dishes for us, and it was great. But I asked the woman who was running the place. I said, "Do you have something which is hands-on? I'd like to actually learn something that I could do." And she said, "Well, in 2 days we're going to have a salsa making class."
Mm.
And so I signed up for the salsa making class, and there were four of us in the class. There was me, and then there was a retired professor from the University of Georgia, and then there was this older couple who were in their 70s. And they were so cute. I mean, they were a cute little couple, and so we started talking to them, and I said, "So, how long have y'all been married?" And they said, "6 years." And so they had married in their mid 60s, and I said, "So, what is it that how do you plan for marriage when you're in your mid 60s and you're kind of at the end of your life?" She said, "Well, we decided we would not focus on anything that either one of us had ever done as a kind of a main thing in our life." And so what was that? It says we decided we would go travel the world and go to cooking schools. And so they were at the Santa Fe School of Cooking or whatever they call it. And they said we come here a couple of times a year because we really love the place. But they would go to Italy and they would go to France and they would go to these places where they were having these cooking schools. And I thought that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So
For
I
sure,
think
that
there's a
does sound
foodie
cool.
thing that's going on there.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's something that people have really grown to appreciate more. But still, I think sometimes I realize it's like the different circles that you're in because what I learned this statistic the other day, only 30% of I believe it was the US knows what a food tour is. So it's like the people that do know, it's like they realize do them in like all the places that they can because like I said it's such a cool way to experience it, but it's like getting that exposure of more people to learn about it because it's something that is hands-on to a certain extent. It's an experience that you get to participate in.
So what do your friends at school think about this?
Ooh, I've been trying to get them to come on one for a hot minute. We're hoping that with the weather works, if the weather works, I can take them on one in Boone. It's the weather keeps getting crazy, but they really are. They've been proud of me. And that's also, I'll say the same with some of my teachers too, because part of the not inspiration per se behind this tour, but one of the things that gave me the motivation to start it was I was part of this project my sophomore year. It was the first time we did it. It was like a series of field trips and it's called the Torrey Oak Project. And it's taking students to different local businesses and it's teaching them about local industry, local history, showing them that the resources and the jobs that are available here. Because I think when you grow up in a town that's smaller, you people feel, especially in my age group, it feels like you're kind of limited and it's like just got to get out of this place and leave. And I really appreciated that the Torrey Oak project because it gave me it showed me that people were interested in young people and trying to get them involved in the community. So yeah, my teachers have been supportive of that. Oh, and I almost forgot I got to add in a thing. The last thing that we did as part of the Torrey Oak project was we did a business proposal to local there was a local business owner, there was the head of the TDA, there were several other local members of the community. I'll say it would have been really cool if I had pitched Blue Ridge Food Tours. I didn't pitch Blue Ridge Food Tours at that time, but it was something that the community was showing that they were interested in young people. So yeah, the I will say teachers and people at school have also been very interested and supportive, even if, like I said, this isn't something that people necessarily know about to a large extent. And I said, you just gotta come on and then you can find out what it is.
I totally agree with you. I love that. So so you're getting ready to graduate from high school. So
Indeed.
what's next for you?
That's quite the question. I have
Yeah.
I'm at a very pivotal point in my life. I do love this business and I do want to continue pursuing it. But also the options to go to school now for me, I do think it's easier to go to school now versus going back later. No, if someone wants to go back to school later, I think that's perfectly awesome. What I am trying to do right now is my parents trained me with the ideology is the point of going to school is to earn a skill. So right now for me, I'm looking into the radiography field, which it's nothing like food tours. It's completely different, but it will be something that I can have available because it's something that yeah, I can do food tours on the weekends, but we're gonna see how life works out for me. But I'm really hopeful for this business in particular.
Well, it has nothing but an upside to it because you could start this and then you could branch out to other towns on the
Yeah,
county.
exactly.
I mean, I can think of you doing it over in Blowing Rock. and
Hmm.
in Banner Elk and and Linville. I mean, all those places have lots of really great restaurants. And so I mean, I could see this, growing, but you'd need some help. You'd need some help.
For
So
sure.
some other high school kids that, I mean, I think it's it's a notable thing that you've done, and I think it's amazing. I had an opportunity about 8 years ago. I was in Vienna, Austria for a conference, and and these high school students came through. We were having lunch. We were standing at a high top table having lunch, and these high school students came up to talk to me and the guy that I was having lunch with, and I just started asking questions, and they were going to a school there in Vienna that was a business high school, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And I was going to be there the next week. I said, so why don't you invite me to come over to the school and I'll give a talk? I can and get to know you all and we'll have a talk. And so one of the gals that was in this little circle said, well, let me check. So she calls her teacher who's somewhere else in the building, and the teacher says, well, let me call the headmaster. So she calls the headmaster, and the headmaster says, well, if you think it's okay, okay, And so that was a Friday afternoon. Monday morning, I show up at the school. I get to meet with the faculty for 15 minutes. Then I go to a class on website design for these students, and they're all designing their own websites. And then I get to speak to them for an hour. It was great, and I was so impressed with these young people, and like I am with you, because you have energy and you have drive and you have initiative and you have a sense of what you want. And I think that's really, really remarkable, because I think that your your age group often gets maligned for not being very with it or not being very motivated or whatever it may be. Um, I'd like to know what you think about your age group, and what is it that people who are not in touch with kids in their teens or in their 20s, what is it that we need to know about who you all are so that we can be better supportive of you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say this is anything like necessarily new with our age group. It's like it almost seems like it's like a cycle because before it was Gen Z, it was millennials, and there's this like cycle where the youngest generation, like the newest generation, people seem to judge an older generation seems to judge when you're in the circumstances that the older generations put you in, and then that generation adapts to them and they behave differently than the ones before them because of the world that they were born into. So yeah, I think definitely Gen Z, and who knows how Gen Alpha is going to turn out because that generation, they're already getting the start of that cycle and they're still in their young teens. They're still like 13, 14, and people are already making up their mind what an entire generation is going to be based on who they are at 13, 14. I don't think any of us want to be defined by the person we were at 13 or 14. But I'll say for Gen Z and this age group, we've grown up in an era where everything is so interconnected and everything is so changing. I think that people could think that we are not like on top of it, that we're not motivated just because it's hard to I'm trying to think of the exact words to
Take,
describe this,
take
but
your time. Take
like I
your
said,
time.
things are changing so much. Like, for example, one thing that I was interested in, like once upon a time, was like software, like computer design. It's such an like interesting career path, but and it's a relatively like new job. It only started with with computers starting not that long ago, and now we're entering the era of AI, and people are saying this job might disappear.
Yeah.
So things are changing so rapidly, and there's like so much information in the world in this era that people have to decide what is worth their time, and it can be so difficult because there are so many options and there's so many opinions that you're getting. It's just
So,
it's a
how
lot
do
to live in this era.
people your age find themselves getting grounded so that they're able to actually look at all of that and make sense of it and not have to feel overwhelmed by it? How do you get grounded in that way?
I think it's I'll have to think on that one for a second
Okay.
because it is so difficult when you're in this information and you're trying to decide what is worth your time. It's a lot of internal self-reflection, but trying to adapt to the world around you. It takes a lot of work for sure.
How do you use your phone, for example? You got your basic cell phone, your smartphone. What is it? What do you find most valuable in that device for you in your life?
Most valuable. Ooh, well, I love my camera. That's
Yeah.
like that's one of something that it's like I appreciate so much about technology. There's some parts it's like in this era that are like kind of iffy about the use of technology, but I love like the ability to be able to capture memories. And I do love the ability to like be able to communicate with people with like a certain ease. Do I think that maybe we're a little bit too available sometimes because everything's so interconnected? Probably, but it's hard to put up strict barriers with that just in general, I think. But there's, like you said, there's so many different ways you can utilize it. And what some people will define as like a good way to use it won't necessarily be objectively like there's a right or a wrong way to do it just because it's all so new in the span of time and how fast things have progressed within the past decades.
Is it is there a is there a difficulty in being able to be constantly in touch with all your friends all the time?
But to a certain extent, I would say yes. I think that when people are able to set up boundaries, it makes it easier. And that's another thing that I've seen that I guess this generation will get a little bit of judgment on, like setting up boundaries can be viewed as like too strong, but it's because it's like being that always available. The willingness to set up boundaries is very necessary in this current era where it might have been necessary in other realms, but it wasn't something that people really had to think about a lot before now. So it's something that both younger generations have adapted to and older generations have had to adapt to in their lifetime.
Well, you're having to create the rules yourself. I mean, it's not like there were, I mean, I grew up, I didn't have a smartphone until I was in my 50s. And so I went all those years without being in constant contact with everyone. And and it's kind of bewildering for an old man to constantly be finding all these stories that are interesting. If you're an extrovert, your extroversion goes not just to people but to their stories, and there are all these stories that you can find, even if they're 20 seconds, 25 seconds long. It's still a story that has some interest. And so I think you're exactly right that being able to set boundaries is a really important thing, but I don't think any of us have really ever had to try to actually do that. I think the boundaries came naturally just because of the way the world was back then, but now it's different, and I think you're exactly right of being able to do that.
Yeah, everything has to be a lot more deliberate
Yeah.
as, yeah, deliberate.
So do you feel does your phone help you with Bluetooth food tours?
That it does. That's where I get all my emails incoming. That's I use my phone to part of the process is I email all the restaurants are emailed 3 days in advance so that they can know and they can be expecting us. And then I will call all the restaurants or text the people to let them know that when we're on our way. So that's how I keep in contact with all of them. And without it, it would be very difficult to operate a food tour and make sure everything was running on schedule.
It just crossed my mind. So when you go to these restaurants, are they providing you food? Are they serving you food? Or are they just giving you a tour?
No, yes, they're provide at a food tour, you are provided food at each stop, but it's not like you're ordering at a restaurant. It's all very streamlined. So it's a smaller portion because you're going to several different restaurants. Yeah, that's the highlight of a food tour is you don't just have to pick one place to go. You're able to experience all these things. And they have a small dish prepared ahead of time. It's not like a full-size portion because we have as many as 7 food stops as at the tour down here in Wilkes. And there's something prepared for you at each place. Sometimes someone from the restaurant will step out and speak a bit. Sometimes I'm the one speaking, and everything's prepared for you ahead of time. You just go, you sit down at the table, you eat your food, you listen to your history bits, and then you get up and leave, and everything is like taken care of for you like that.
I think that's fantastic. So if you go into radiology as a college student, where are you going to do that?
Well, right now I actually am a student at Wilkes Community College through the
Ah,
early college high school program. So they have a radiography program there, which is available to me, and I have applied for, and I'm set up to see, but they do only have 8 spots, I believe. So that it's something that takes a lot of, they want to make sure people are like dedicated to go the full path with it because there's so few spots. But there's
yeah.
also opportunities at other community colleges. There's Forsyth Technical Community College, which I've also applied to. But also, another kind of like fun fact that's kind of interesting about me, I guess, is I also do, this is so random, all my jobs are so random, is I do bathtub refinishing. That's like my after school job. And yeah, I know it's like very specific. It's a very like niche thing, I guess. But yeah, I just have like, I'm at this point where I have a lot of opportunities ahead of me that go in very different ways.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. That I've heard that. Basically, I do repair for I do it for a company called Tub Magic. It's just the owner and me. And basically, if like a tub is like broken or it has a chip in it, it's like I go and fix it because people think bathtubs are so expensive. They think you would think you'd need to like replace the whole thing because I don't think
You don't
I
need to.
haven't found yet another business that does that job, but that's just another random thing in my life.
Well, I think what you're doing is great, and I celebrate who you are, and I love your generation, and I find it constantly interesting, who you all are, your stories,
Mhm.
your willingness to kind of do things that no one else expects you to do. I mean, this
Yeah.
that's what was remarkable to me. So,
Yeah. I think people have also started to realize like with the college versus like trades track, it's like I would say more with the millennials, it was like go to college, get a degree, and you'll automatically have a job. And then they kind of realize, oh no, that doesn't always work out. So
that's
we're
right.
at the point where we have to like decide, but I know a lot of people, the trades aren't something to necessarily be looked down upon. We need the tradesmen. We also need the entrepreneurs. We also need the people who go and get that college degree. There's a variety of pathways available for young people. And we just have to like realize it and be realistic by learning from those generations that came before us.
Do you know the small business center at the community college?
That I do.
They're good. They're good folks.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah. When I was involved with them when I lived over there. And so, well, you're doing all the things that all of us should be doing. And I celebrate that. So let me ask you one kind of big question before we go. As you look to the future, are you hopeful about the future? Do you feel positive about the future?
That's a big question. I think
I ask all my guests that question.
okay.
So,
That's a very philosophical one.
well,
Oh,
it's yeah, but it's important because you're looking forward. I mean, you have
mhm.
some plans for your life, but looking forward, do you feel hopeful?
Personally, I I do feel hopeful for the future. I try and view things as realistically as I can because no one can know the future, however people might claim to be. I don't think anyone can really know the future. So I am hopeful. I think it'd be kind of a sad life to go through just expecting the worst. So I'd like to say that I'm realistically hopeful about the future because I see the threats that are out there that are facing this world. I know there's a chance it's not going to go how I might hope and hopefulness that it will, but I do try and have a realistically hopeful view outlook to the future.
I think that's exactly the right approach because you will see the opportunities that come, and you can apply yourself to those, and maybe they work out, maybe they don't, but you learn something, and you move to the next one and the next one and the next one, and I mean that's what I have found in my life. So I think what you're saying is really wise. It's very mature, and I think there are a lot of people who are in my age group who should hear you say that and say, well, that makes sense to me, and so I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to see that because there is just so much. The pessimism that we do see in the world is so granted because there is so much of that negativity, but it's being deliberate and like b taking action. And when people are willing to take action, that's when you can have that hopefulness.
Why do you think it's deliberate? Why do you think the pessimism is deliberate?
Not the sorry, I may perhaps I misspoke. Not the
Maybe I
pessimism
misunderstood. I'm
itself
sorry.
is deliberate, but I don't even remember what I said.
Okay.
Ignore
All right.
that.
I apologize.
No worries.
I thought you were saying one thing and maybe you were saying another. Well, I'm glad you've been on the show.
Glad to be
Um,
here.
and we will, if you send me whatever you want me to put in the show notes so that people can find out about Blue Ridge Food Tours so that
Okie
they can
dokie.
come meet you and actually go on a tour with you. I think that'd be fantastic. And and I'm glad that you uh, were courageous enough to come on the podcast.
Yeah, it's a bit of a new experience for me, but th this has been fun.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. And I thank you all for watching. I hope that you will one come to Wilkes County and Watauga County and take the food tour. I think that's one thing I would love for you to do. And if you come because you saw here, I will go with you. I need to come on the tour,
You
by the way.
bet.
So,
Yes, for sure. We'll be happy to have you.
but I also encourage you to go seek out, particularly Gen Zs, and just try to have a conversation with them. Don't think about going and telling them about what you think of them and what you think that they should be doing. Just listen and kind of grasp that these young people really already have a really clear sense of the world, and they have some motivation to go do things that really make a difference that matters. And that's what I see, and that's what I want to celebrate. And so, Maya, thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you all
Thank
next
you a
time
lot.
here on the Eddie Network podcast. Thank you.